The emergency alarm screamed through the shuttle as it shook from one side to the other. Red warning lights flashed across every wall. Outside the windows, a thick green world rushed toward us faster than anyone could stop. "My controls are gone," Captain Soren shouted. "Brace for impact." I tightened every safety strap around my body and closed my eyes. Then everything exploded. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. The floor disappeared beneath my feet. For a few endless seconds, the shuttle became nothing more than a falling piece of burning metal. When I opened my eyes again, everything was silent. Smoke filled the cabin. Broken wires hung from the ceiling, throwing small blue sparks into the air. Somewhere nearby, someone was coughing. Someone else was crying. "My name is Kale. I am a navigation officer from the peaceful world of Elera. Our people have never fought a real war. We solve problems with patience, not violence. Predators disappeared from our home thousands of years ago. Fear is something we read about in history books. That day, I learned fear has a smell. It smells like burning metal, wet soil, and blood." I pushed away the broken seat that had trapped my legs and slowly stood. Every muscle in my body hurt. The gravity felt heavier than normal. Even breathing required effort. The shuttle had crashed deep inside a giant jungle unlike anything I had ever seen. Trees rose hundreds of meters into the sky. Their branches blocked almost all sunlight. Even during the day, the forest looked like evening. Strange vines hung from every direction. Huge flowers released clouds of glowing pollen. Nothing looked friendly. Nothing looked safe. Captain Soren gathered the survivors outside the wreck. "We have 7 people alive," he said quietly. That sentence hurt more than my injuries. We had started the mission with 12. 5 were gone before we even touched the ground. Our engineer, Miko, checked the damaged shuttle. "The communication array is destroyed. Our emergency beacon? Broken. The engines? Completely gone." Silence spread across the group. No rescue signal. No flight. No way home. Only the jungle. Captain Soren looked toward the endless trees. "How long until someone realizes we're missing?" "Maybe 5 days. And after that? If they know our last position?" "Another week." Nobody answered. 7 people. 12 days. On an unknown planet. Those numbers did not feel encouraging. Then I noticed the 2 humans. They stood together near the edge of the clearing. I had heard stories about humans before. Most of them sounded impossible. People said humans came from a Deathworld, a planet where storms, predators, diseases, earthquakes, and dangerous animals had forced their species to survive through intelligence instead of safety. I always believed those stories were exaggerated. The taller human smiled as she walked toward us. "My name is Maya," she said warmly. "If anyone is hurt, come here." Her calm voice somehow made everyone breathe a little easier. She checked injuries, cleaned cuts, and encouraged frightened crew members. She even managed to make Captain Soren laugh once. The second human was completely different. Her name was Lena. She spoke very little. Instead of helping with conversations, she quietly walked around the crash site. She examined broken branches. She touched the soil. She looked into the trees for long periods without saying anything. Every few minutes she knelt down and studied footprints none of us could even see. At first I thought she was simply nervous. Then I realized she was observing everything. Nothing escaped her attention. Maya noticed me watching. "Don't misunderstand her," she said with a smile. "Lena isn't unfriendly. She just thinks before she speaks. What is she looking for? Anything that can hurt us." I looked around. "I don't see anything," Maya answered softly. "That's exactly why she's looking." The engineer finally reported the bad news. "We can salvage food for about 6 days. Water. We'll have to collect rain. Weapons? Almost none." Captain Soren sighed. "Then we build a temporary camp." Everyone started working. Some gathered supplies. Others collected metal sheets from the wreck. I tried helping, but I couldn't stop glancing toward the dark forest. Felt like someone was watching us. Not once. All the time. Lena suddenly raised her hand. "Quiet," Every sound stopped. Even the wind seemed to disappear. Then we heard it. A deep call echoed through the jungle. Long, slow, powerful. Several seconds later, another answered from somewhere farther away. Then another. Then another. The strange calls surrounded us from different directions. "What are those?" I whispered. Lena listened carefully before replying. "Large predators." "How many?" She stayed silent. That frightened me more than any answer. Before sunset, Lena ordered us to move every piece of food into the center of camp. Then she built 3 separate fires instead of 1. "Why 3?" Captain Soren asked. "They don't only provide light. They create uncertainty." "For who?" "The animals." Nobody argued. Something in her voice made disagreement feel foolish. Night arrived quickly. Darkness swallowed the jungle. The trees became giant black walls surrounding our tiny camp. Every strange sound seemed twice as loud. Leaves moved without wind. Branches cracked somewhere above us. It was Maya. "This way." We ran behind a broken engine section. The beast landed exactly where we had been standing. Its claws ripped through solid metal like paper. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Nothing should have been that strong. Captain Soren gathered the remaining crew. "Stay together." But the jungle had other plans. A deep roar echoed from above. Every predator suddenly stopped moving. They lowered their heads. Even the largest beast stepped aside. Something else was coming. Heavy footsteps shook the ground. Tree branches snapped one after another. Then it appeared. A creature nearly twice the size of the others walked into the clearing. Its body was covered in dark armored plates. Long scars crossed its face. One eye was completely white. This wasn't just another predator. It was their leader. Nobody moved. The alpha slowly walked around our camp, studying each survivor. It ignored Captain Soren, ignored the engineer, ignored me. Then it stopped in front of Maya. She refused to step back. Instead, she looked directly into its glowing eyes. For several long seconds, neither one moved. The alpha released a deep growl. Every smaller predator became completely still. Lena whispered quietly. "It made its choice." "What choice?" I asked. Before she could answer, the alpha lunged. Maya pushed me aside. The beast's jaws closed around her backpack instead of her body. She rolled across the ground. Captain Soren fired again. The plasma bolt hit the alpha's neck. It didn't even flinch. Another predator attacked from behind. Lena threw a burning piece of wood into its face. The creature hissed and backed away. "Run!" she shouted. Everyone scattered. Smoke covered the clearing. I lost sight of almost everyone. Then I heard Maya scream. I turned around. 3 apex beasts surrounded her. She fought desperately using a survival knife. She actually wounded one of them, but another beast struck from the side. She fell. The alpha grabbed her carefully. Not to kill, to capture. "No!" Lena yelled. She sprinted toward them. One predator blocked her path. She dodged left. Another appeared. She changed direction again. The alpha was already disappearing into the jungle with Maya over its shoulder. "Lena!" Captain Soren shouted. "It's too late." She stopped. Not because she wanted to, because the predators had formed a wall between her and the forest. The alpha looked back one final time. Its glowing eye met Lena's. Then it vanished into the darkness. One by one, every remaining apex beast disappeared after their leader. The jungle became silent once again. Only broken trees, scattered equipment, and frightened survivors remained. Nobody spoke. Captain Soren finally broke the silence. "We have to rescue her." Several crew members nodded immediately, but Lena said nothing. She walked to the place where Maya had been taken. She knelt beside the footprints, touched the broken leaves, picked up a single black scale left behind by one of the beasts. Then she stood. "What are you doing?" I asked. She looked toward the endless jungle. Her voice was calm. "They won tonight." She closed her hand around the scale. "But they only think the hunt is over." She turned toward the camp. "Starting now. I'm hunting them." No anger, no shouting, no tears, just a promise. And somehow, that quiet promise was far more terrifying than any roar the apex beasts had made. The morning after Maya was taken, nobody touched their breakfast. The camp was quiet, too quiet. Even the jungle seemed different. The birds had stopped singing. The strange insects that filled the night with noise were gone. Only the wind moved through the giant trees. Captain Soren stood beside the remains of our camp. "We leave in 1 hour." Lena looked at him. "No." The captain frowned. "We're rescuing Maya." Lena shook her head. "No." Her answer made everyone stare at her. One crew member stepped forward. "What do you mean no? They took her." "I know." "Then why are we waiting?" Lena looked toward the forest. "Because they want us to." Nobody understood. She picked up a long stick and began drawing lines in the dirt. "Last night wasn't random." She drew several circles. "These are the hunting groups." Then she marked our camp. "They pushed us exactly where they wanted." Another line appeared. "The Alpha never attacked first." She paused. "It watched." Captain Soren crossed his arms. So they were testing us." Silence. "They know we're alive. They know we're weak. And now they expect us to chase them." One of the engineers slammed his fist against a broken crate. "We don't have time for this. Maya could already be dead." Lena finally looked at him. "If they wanted her dead, they would have killed her." Nobody had an answer. She was right. The Alpha had carried Maya away carefully. Not like prey, like something valuable. Captain Soren sighed. "What do you suggest?" Lena answered immediately. "We wait." The entire camp erupted. "Wait. Have you lost your mind? She's our friend." Lena didn't react. She simply listened until everyone became quiet again. Then she said something none of us expected. "I'm giving myself 3 days." Captain Soren stared at her. 3 days. "I need to understand them. And if Maya dies while you're thinking?" Lena's expression never changed. "If I leave now, we all die." Those words ended the argument. Day 1. Lena left before sunrise. She carried almost nothing. A small knife, a coil of rope, a water bottle, and a notebook. "No weapons?" I asked. She smiled slightly. "My weapon is information." Then she disappeared into the jungle. Hours passed. Nobody knew where she had gone. When sunset arrived, she returned, covered in mud. Her clothes were torn by branches. Small cuts covered her arms. Captain Soren walked toward her. "Did you find Maya?" "No." "What did you find?" She opened the notebook. "Footprints." She drew several strange symbols. "There are 5 hunting packs. 1 alpha. 2 young leaders. Several scouts." The engineer blinked. "You learned all that in 1 day?" I watched. She said nothing else. That night, instead of sleeping, she climbed onto the highest remaining piece of the crashed shuttle. From there she listened, again and again, every distant roar, every strange call, every echo through the valley. She wrote everything down. Day 2. The second morning, she disappeared again. This time, I followed her. Not because she asked, because I wanted answers. She noticed me almost immediately. "You walk too loudly." I wasn't trying to hide. "I know." She kept moving. We crossed streams, climbed rocky hills, walked through giant ferns taller than buildings. Every few minutes, she stopped, not to rest, to observe. She crouched beside broken branches, touched fresh claw marks, measured footprints with her hands. She even smelled the air. Finally I asked, "What are you searching for?" She answered without looking at me. "Patterns." "What kind?" "Hunters repeat successful habits." I looked around. "I don't see anything." She pointed toward the mud. "What do you notice?" "Footprints." "What else?" I shrugged. She smiled. "Exactly." Then she explained. "The large prints always appear first. The smaller ones follow. But yesterday," she pointed farther ahead, "they changed places." I looked carefully. She was right. The order was different. What does that mean? The Alpha isn't leading today's hunt. She stood. It sent younger hunters. Why? They're learning. That single sentence changed everything. These creatures trained each other. Like soldiers. Like wolves. Like intelligent beings. Not monsters. An hour later, we reached a cliff overlooking a massive valley. Lena quickly pulled me down. Stay low. I crawled beside her. Below us, nearly 20 apex beasts gathered around a huge lake. They weren't fighting. They weren't eating. They were teaching. Young predators chased smaller animals while older ones watched. Whenever one made a mistake, a louder beast corrected it. I couldn't believe my eyes. They're practicing. Lena nodded. They're an organized society. My stomach tightened. If they're this smart, how can we beat them? She looked at me. By becoming smarter. That evening, back at camp, Captain Soren demanded another report. Lena spread several hand-drawn maps across the ground. This valley, she circled one location, is their training area. Another mark. This is where scouts gather. Another. And this, she paused, is where they took Maya. Everyone leaned closer. You found their nest? No. The prison. The captain looked confused. How do you know? She tapped the paper. Nothing hunts there. Nothing enters. Everything avoids it. Which means something important is inside. Hope returned to everyone's faces. Maya was alive. At least, Lena believed she was. Day 3. The third morning felt different. Lena didn't leave immediately. Instead, she sharpened her knife, checked every knot on her rope, organized small stones into neat piles. Captain Soren watched silently. So, you finally have a plan? She nodded. I do. He smiled for the first time since the attack. What is it? She looked around the camp. First, we stop thinking like survivors. Everyone waited. She continued. We start thinking like predators. Nobody spoke. She drew one final map. Unlike the others, this one showed only 3 paths. The Alpha believes we'll attack directly. We won't. The scouts expect noise. We'll stay silent. They expect speed. We'll use patience. She looked directly at Captain Soren. I've spent 3 days learning how they hunt. Now, I'll make them learn how humans hunt. A cold breeze moved through the camp. For the first time, I realized something. Lena hadn't been wasting time. She hadn't been hiding. She hadn't been afraid. For 3 full days, she had been studying every weakness, every habit, every mistake. The apex beasts didn't know it yet. But while they believed they were guarding one prisoner, someone far more dangerous. The camp was awake long before sunrise. Nobody slept that night. Everyone knew today would decide everything. Either Maya would come home, or none of us would. Lena quietly packed her small bag. Unlike the rest of us, she carried almost no equipment. A knife, a rope, a small medical pouch, a few metal traps made from the shuttle's broken parts, several smoke capsules built by our engineer. That was all. Captain Soren looked at her backpack. That's not enough. Lena smiled. It isn't supposed to be. The captain frowned. We're walking into the territory of the strongest predators on this planet. I know. So why travel light? She tightened the rope around her shoulder. Because I don't plan to fight them. Everyone looked confused. She continued. I plan to make them fight each other. Silence filled the camp. Nobody asked another question. The mission begins. As the first sunlight touched the jungle, 5 people left the crash site. Captain Soren, Lena, me, Engineer Miko, and Dr. Iris. The remaining survivors stayed behind to protect the camp. Before leaving, Lena drew another map on the ground. If we're not back by tomorrow, she looked at Captain Soren. Burn everything. He looked surprised. The camp. She nodded. The smoke will become our emergency signal. Nobody wanted to think about failure, so nobody answered. The silent walk. The deeper we entered the jungle, The stranger everything became. Massive trees blocked the sunlight. Blue vines hung from every branch. Strange glowing insects floated silently through the air. Even the temperature changed. It became colder, heavier. The jungle almost felt alive. Lena walked in front. She never rushed. Every few steps she stopped, looked around, listened, then continued. After nearly 2 hours, she suddenly raised one hand. Everyone froze. "What is it?" Captain Soren whispered. She pointed toward the mud. Fresh footprints. Huge ones. "They passed here recently." "How recently?" She touched the ground. "The mud hasn't dried." She looked around. "Less than 30 minutes. My heart began racing. "They're close." She nodded. "Very." Instead of changing direction, she smiled. "Good." Captain Soren looked shocked. "Good. We're following them." The first trap. An hour later, we reached a narrow path between two enormous cliffs. Lena stopped again. "This is perfect." She handed several metal cables to Engineer Miko. "Stretch these across the path." Dr. Iris looked confused. "What will that do?" Lena tied another cable between two rocks. "The scouts always run. They never walk." Captain Soren finally understood. "They won't see the wires." She nodded. "They don't need to." Within 15 minutes, the trap was finished. Nobody hid nearby. Instead, we walked away. I couldn't understand. "Aren't we waiting?" "No. But the trap isn't for today." That confused me even more. She noticed. "Every successful hunter prepares tomorrow's battlefield today." Signs of Maya. By midday, we reached a shallow river. Lena suddenly knelt beside the water. She picked something up. A small silver pendant. I recognized it immediately. "Maya." Dr. Iris smiled. "She's alive." Captain Soren carefully examined the pendant. "It must have fallen." Lena shook her head. "No." "What do you mean?" "She dropped it." Everyone stared at her. "On purpose." She pointed toward the riverbank. "The chain isn't broken." I finally understood. Maya left us a trail. For the first time in 3 days, hope returned. Watching the hunters. Late that afternoon, we climbed another rocky hill. Lena motioned for everyone to stay low. Below us, four apex beasts were dragging a huge animal through the forest. The creature looked twice their size. Yet they moved together perfectly. No shouting. No confusion. Each hunter knew exactly where to stand. Captain Soren whispered, "They're incredible." Lena quietly nodded. "Yes." Then she surprised us again. "They're also predictable." She pointed toward the hunters. "They always protect the food. They never protect themselves." "What does that mean?" She smiled. "It means they're focused. And focused hunters miss surprises." She opened her notebook. Another page filled with observations. Another weakness recorded. The forgotten tunnel. As evening approached, the group finally reached the valley Lena had discovered 2 days earlier. Tall cliffs surrounded the area. Only one visible entrance existed. Captain Soren sighed. "We can't get through that." Hundreds of claw marks covered the narrow entrance. Predators came and went constantly. Lena wasn't looking at the entrance. She was studying the cliff itself. Then, she walked toward a wall covered with vines. She pulled several plants aside. Behind them, a dark tunnel appeared. Engineer Miko gasped. "You found another entrance." Lena smiled slightly. "No. I found their mistake." The tunnel was old. Very old. Broken rocks covered the ground. Roots grew through the ceiling. Captain Soren looked inside. "Do you think it's safe?" "No." She stepped forward anyway. "But it's better than the main entrance." One by one, we entered the darkness. Inside the mountain, the tunnel was narrow. Cold air flowed from deep inside. Water dripped from the ceiling. Every sound echoed endlessly. Nobody spoke. After nearly 20 minutes, a faint light appeared ahead. Lena carefully crawled toward the opening. She slowly looked outside. Then she smiled. "We're in." One by one, we joined her. My mouth fell open. We stood inside an enormous hidden valley. Waterfalls crashed from towering cliffs. Ancient stone pillars covered the landscape. Hundreds of caves lined the valley walls. Somewhere below, apex beasts moved between them. Families, hunters, young cubs, the entire colony. Dr. Iris whispered, "It's like a city." Lena nodded. "Exactly. Not a nest. Not a den. A civilization." Captain Soren looked around. "Where's Maya?" Lena pointed toward the far side of the valley. Near the tallest cliff stood a giant cave surrounded by armed predators. "They don't guard food like that. They don't guard sleeping areas like that." She looked directly at the cave. "They're guarding a prisoner." Everyone followed her gaze. A small human figure appeared behind the stone bars. Maya. She was alive, dirty, exhausted, but alive. Dr. Iris nearly cried. Captain Soren grabbed Lena's shoulder. "We attack tonight." Lena slowly shook her head. "No." The captain couldn't believe it. Again. She kept watching the guards. "There are 12 outside. More inside. If we attack now, Maya dies first." The captain clenched his fists. "So what do we do?" Lena looked across the valley. Her eyes stopped on several large wooden platforms holding fresh meat. Then, she noticed the Alpha walking toward the center of the colony. A slow smile appeared on her face. Finally, she whispered, "Now I understand." Captain Soren frowned. "Understand what?" Lena quietly closed her notebook. "I've spent 3 days learning how they survive." She looked at the Alpha. "Tonight, I'm going to teach them how humans wage war." Far below, the Alpha suddenly lifted its head. For a brief second, its glowing eyes looked directly toward our hiding place. Neither hunter moved. Neither looked away. The battle had not begun yet, but both sides already knew. The other had arrived. The hidden valley looked peaceful from above. Water flowed through the center like a silver ribbon. Young apex beasts chased each other near the river. The adults moved calmly between the caves. If I had not watched them attack our camp, I might have believed they were harmless. But Lena saw something different. She wasn't looking at the predators. She was looking at their routine. Every movement, every guard, every path, every mistake. Captain Soren crawled beside her. "Tell me the plan." Lena pointed toward the largest cave where Maya was being held. "They change guards every 40 minutes. "How do you know?" "I've counted 3 rotations." She pointed again. "The Alpha leaves the prison after every inspection." "Why?" "It trusts its guards." The captain smiled. "So we attack after it leaves." Lena shook her head. "No. We attack before it returns." Understanding the enemy, the group remained hidden until sunset. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Below us, the colony followed the same pattern again. Hunters returned with food. Scouts reported to the Alpha. Young predators disappeared into smaller caves. The guards around Maya changed exactly as Lena predicted. Engineer Miko looked amazed. "They really do everything on schedule." Lena nodded. "Most successful hunters become predictable." She closed her notebook. "Predictable enemies lose." Building the battlefield. Instead of moving toward Maya, Lena quietly climbed farther along the cliff. Captain Soren followed. "What are we doing?" She pointed toward several massive boulders resting near the edge. "If these fall." The captain looked below. The rocks overlooked the colony's main path. "They'll block the valley." Lena smiled. "And separate the hunting groups." Together we wedged metal rods beneath the rocks. Miko connected thin cables between them. Everything was hidden beneath loose soil and dry leaves. Dr. Iris whispered, "So one pull." Lena nodded. "And the entire entrance collapses. A different kind of weapon." Next, Lena unpacked the smoke capsules. Miko looked confused. "We only have 6. "That's enough." She handed him a small map. "Place 2 near the food stores. 2 beside the river. And 2. She pointed toward another cave. "The nursery?" Lena nodded. "We're not hurting the young." "Then why?" "The adults will protect them." Understanding slowly spread across our faces. The smoke wasn't a weapon. It was a distraction. Predators always protected their young first. That would pull half the colony away from Maya. Captain Soren couldn't hide his smile. You've been planning this for 3 days. No, Lena answered quietly. I've been planning it since the moment they walked away with Maya. The message. As darkness covered the valley, Lena did something none of us expected. She walked toward the edge of the cliff. Then, she picked up a small stone. What are you doing? I whispered. She threw it. The stone landed near the Alpha's cave. One guard looked up. Nothing else happened. Then she threw another. This time, the Alpha itself stepped outside. Its glowing eyes searched the darkness. For one brief second, it looked directly at Lena. She didn't hide. She simply stood there, silent, watching. The Alpha gave a deep growl. Several scouts immediately climbed toward the cliffs. Captain Soren looked horrified. They're coming. Lena smiled. I know. She turned around. Run. The chase. We sprinted through the narrow tunnel. Behind us, the scouts followed. Fast. Very fast. Their claws scraped against the stone. The tunnel echoed with growls. They're gaining. Miko shouted. Lena kept running. Keep moving. We burst from the tunnel into the jungle. The scouts followed without hesitation. Exactly as Lena expected. She suddenly stopped. Everyone down. We dropped to the ground. The first scout leaped forward. His front legs struck something invisible. The metal cable. The same trap Lena had built hours earlier. The creature flipped through the air before crashing into 2 others behind it. A loud roar filled the forest. Before they could recover, another hidden cable tightened around a fallen tree. The giant trunk swung across the path. 3 more scouts were knocked aside. Captain Soren stared in disbelief. You planned this yesterday. Lena nodded. I told you. Tomorrow's battlefield. The surviving scouts hesitated. For the first time, the hunters looked uncertain. Then they turned back toward the valley. Exactly as Lena wanted. Inside the colony while the scouts rushed home, the colony had already become restless. Smoke suddenly rose beside the food storage. Another cloud appeared near the river. Then 2 more near the nursery. Confused roars echoed everywhere. Adults abandoned their patrols. Parents rushed toward their young. Hunters ran toward the smoke. Within seconds, the organized colony became complete chaos. Only the prison guards remained at their posts. Lena watched from the cliff. Almost. Captain Soren asked. What are we waiting for? She pointed toward the Alpha. It stood in the center of the valley, trying to understand what had happened. It gave several loud commands, but nobody listened. Every group believed its own area was under attack. The Alpha had lost control. Lena finally stood. Now, the rescue begins. The 5 of us slid quietly down the rocky slope. Nobody noticed. Every guard was watching the smoke. One by one, we reached the prison cave. Only 4 guards remained. Captain Soren raised his plasma pistol. Lena stopped him. No noise. She picked up a small stone. Then another. She threw both toward opposite sides of the cave. The guards reacted instantly. 2 moved left. 2 moved right. The entrance became empty. Lena slipped inside like a shadow. We followed. The cave was darker than expected. Cold. Silent. Chains hung from the walls. And there, sitting against the stone, was Maya. She looked thinner. Her face was covered in dirt. But when she saw Lena, she smiled. I knew. You'd come. Lena knelt beside her. I took too long. Maya shook her head. No. You came at exactly the right time. As Miko cut through the restraints, a deep roar echoed outside. The Alpha had finally realized. This had never been a random distraction. It had all been one carefully calculated human plan. Lena slowly stood. She looked toward the cave entrance. They know. Captain Soren tightened his grip on the plasma pistol. What now? Lena took a deep breath. We leave. Another roar shook the valley. Closer this time. Much closer. The Alpha wasn't sending scouts anymore. Now, it was coming. The Alpha's roar echoed across the entire valley. Every apex beast froze. For one heartbeat, the colony became completely silent. Then chaos exploded. Dozens of predators turned toward the prison cave at once. "They've found us!" Miko shouted. Captain Soren raised his plasma pistol. "Move! Move!" Lena grabbed Maya before she could stand. "Can you walk?" Maya nodded weakly. "I'll manage." "No." Lena wrapped Maya's arm over her shoulder. "You don't have to." Without another word, she helped her toward the cave entrance. Outside, the valley had become a battlefield. Smoke still drifted between the caves. The fallen rocks blocked the main path exactly as Lena had planned. Hunters were trapped on opposite sides of the colony. Some tried climbing over the rocks. Others searched for another route. The Alpha stood on top of a large stone, roaring commands. But confusion had already spread. The perfect hunting formation was gone. The escape begins. The group rushed along the narrow cliff path. Behind them, the first guards discovered the empty prison. One gave a sharp warning cry. Instantly, several hunters charged after the escaping humans. "They're coming!" Dr. Iris yelled. Lena didn't look back. "Keep running." The trail became steeper. Loose rocks rolled beneath our feet. Maya nearly slipped. I caught her before she fell. "Easy." She forced a tired smile. "I've had better vacations." Even now, she could still joke. Captain Soren laughed despite the danger. "That's the Maya I know." For a brief moment, everyone felt hope. Then the ground shook. Boom, boom, boom. Heavy footsteps approached from behind. Not the scouts. Not the guards. The Alpha, face to face. We reached a narrow stone bridge crossing a deep canyon. Lena suddenly stopped. "Everyone across." Captain Soren looked confused. "What about you?" "I'll slow it down." "No. You'll die." She calmly pulled a small bundle from her backpack. The last smoke capsule. And a coil of thin wire. "I'll be fine." Nobody believed her. But there wasn't time to argue. One by one, everyone crossed the bridge. Lena remained behind. The Alpha appeared at the other end. It was even larger than I remembered. This white I never left Lena. Neither moved. Neither attacked. For several seconds, the jungle held its breath. The Alpha growled. Lena answered quietly, "You should have left us alone." The beast lowered its body, preparing to charge. Lena smiled. "That's exactly what I expected." The Alpha leaped. At the last possible second, Lena rolled aside. The giant creature landed on the bridge. Its front legs caught the thin wire stretched between two rocks. The wire wasn't strong enough to stop it. It didn't need to be. It only had to change its balance. The Alpha stumbled. One enormous claw slammed into the old stone railing. Cracks spread across the bridge. Lena threw the smoke capsule beneath its feet. A loud burst filled the air. White smoke exploded everywhere. The Alpha roared in confusion. Unable to see clearly, it took another heavy step. The ancient bridge finally gave way. Massive stones crashed into the canyon below. The Alpha disappeared into the cloud of dust. Captain Soren stared in disbelief. "You actually..." Before he finished, a huge claw grabbed the edge of the cliff. The Alpha was still alive. The strength was unbelievable. Slowly, pulled itself upward. Lena's eyes narrowed. "So you're not finished." The final chase. The humans ran deeper into the jungle. Night had fallen completely. Rain began pouring through the trees. Thunder echoed across the mountains. The muddy ground slowed everyone. Especially Maya. She was exhausted. "I can't." Lena grabbed her hand. "You can." "No. I'm slowing everyone down." Lena stopped. She looked directly into Maya's eyes. "You waited for me. I'm not leaving without you." Those simple words gave Maya new strength. She stood. "I'll keep moving." The group continued. Behind them, the Alpha climbed from the canyon. Injured, covered in dust, but still hunting. Its roar shook the forest. More apex beasts answered from different directions. They're surrounding us, Miko shouted. Lena quickly looked around. Then she smiled. There. Ahead stood the remains of an old alien research station. Broken walls, collapsed towers, rusted metal scattered everywhere. The perfect place for one last stand. The old station. The group rushed inside. Captain Soren locked the heavy steel doors. They won't hold long. I know, Lena replied. She immediately searched through the ruins. Old batteries, metal pipes, broken cables, an emergency power core. Miko suddenly understood. You have another plan. She nodded. Help me. Together they connected wires between the damaged power cells. Dr. Iris watched nervously. What are you building? Lena smiled. A surprise. Outside, the Alpha reached the station. It slowly circled the building. Other apex beasts gathered behind it. More than 20. Captain Soren checked his weapon. Only 3 shots left. I swallowed hard. We're finished. Lena calmly connected the final cable. No. We're ready. The human advantage. The Alpha charged first. The steel doors exploded inward. Several predators rushed inside. Lena waited. 5 meters. 4. 3. Now. Miko threw the switch. The old power core released every bit of remaining energy. Thousands of volts surged through the metal floor. Blue light flashed across the room. The predators roared as electricity raced beneath their feet. Most jumped backward. Some collapsed. None expected the trap. Captain Soren couldn't believe it. You turned the whole station into a weapon. Lena nodded. They hunt with muscle. Humans hunt with ideas. The Alpha recovered faster than the others. Pushed through the sparks. Still coming. Still refusing to stop. Lena slowly picked up her knife. The Alpha lowered its head. Hunter and human stood only a few meters apart. Neither blinked. Neither looked away. One final battle remained, and only one of them would walk out alive. The Alpha stood in the center of the ruined station. Its body was covered with burns from the electrical trap. One of its front legs shook slightly, but its eyes still burned with confidence. It believed the hunt wasn't over. Lena slowly stepped forward. Her knife remained low by her side. She wasn't trying to scare the beast. She was studying it. The Alpha circled her. Slowly, patiently, looking for one mistake. Captain Soren raised his plasma pistol. Lena lifted one hand without looking back. Don't. The captain frowned. It'll kill you. If you shoot, it'll dodge. She smiled faintly. I need it focused on me. The Alpha let out a deep growl. Then it attacked. The last duel. The giant beast exploded forward. Its claws tore through the metal floor. Lena moved at the last possible second. The claws missed her shoulder by only a few centimeters. Instead of striking back, she kept moving. Always sideways. Always making the Alpha turn. Captain Soren whispered, "Why isn't she attacking?" Miko suddenly understood. She's making it tired. The Alpha charged again. And again. Every attack smashed another support pillar. Dust filled the air. Pieces of the old station crashed around us. The beast became faster. But also, more reckless. Lena waited. She wasn't fighting with strength. She was fighting with patience. Exactly as she had done for 3 days. A hidden weakness. Finally, the Alpha paused, breathing heavily. Its injured front leg carried most of its weight. Lena noticed immediately. So that's it. She had found the weakness. The old injury from the canyon had never healed properly. Every time the Alpha landed, protected that leg. She smiled. Thank you. The beast didn't understand. Charged one final time. Lena picked up a broken metal spear lying on the floor. She didn't throw it. She planted it firmly into the cracked ground. Then she stepped aside. The Alpha couldn't stop. Its injured leg landed first. It slipped. Its full weight crashed against the spear. The sharp metal pierced deep into its shoulder. The Alpha roared louder than ever before. The entire station shook. But it was still alive. Still trying to stand. Lena slowly walked closer. She looked directly into its eyes. You fought well. The alpha growled softly, almost respectfully. Then its head slowly lowered. The great hunter finally collapsed. Silence filled the station. The hunt was over. The colony's decision. Outside, the remaining apex beasts gathered around the entrance. Nobody attacked. Nobody moved. They watched their fallen leader. Several younger hunters stepped forward. Captain Soren tightened his grip on his weapon. They're going to charge. Lena shook her head. No. The largest young hunter approached the alpha. It lowered its head. Then, to our surprise, it stepped backward. One by one, every other apex beast did the same. None of them challenged the humans. None of them roared. They simply turned and disappeared into the jungle. Miko stared in disbelief. They're leaving. Lena nodded. They've accepted the outcome. Captain Soren looked confused. They're not taking revenge? No. They lost their leader. They're choosing survival. For the first time, we understood. These creatures were never evil. They were predators following their own laws. And today, those laws had chosen a new future. Going home. Morning sunlight finally reached the forest. The storm had passed. The jungle felt peaceful again. Back at the crash site, the remaining survivors rushed toward us. Maya! Tears filled everyone's eyes. Dr. Iris immediately began treating her injuries. Captain Soren smiled for the first time in days. We actually did it. Maya looked at Lena. You never stopped looking for me. Lena laughed quietly. I told you once. I don't leave friends behind. Maya smiled. I know. Several days later, a rescue cruiser finally arrived above Karos 9. The emergency smoke signal had been seen from orbit. As the shuttle lifted into the sky, I looked down at the endless jungle one last time. The valley had already disappeared beneath the clouds. It almost looked peaceful. Almost. The report. After returning to civilized space, Captain Soren submitted the official mission report. Every government wanted answers. Military officers, scientists, explorers. Everyone asked the same question. What happened on Karos 9? Captain Soren smiled. They expected monsters. They found hunters. Another officer asked, how did your team survive? The captain looked toward Lena, who stood quietly near the window. Because one human understood something the rest of US didn't. What was that? He answered without hesitation. Strength doesn't always win. The smartest hunter does. A new friendship. Months later, the crew met again aboard a new exploration ship. Maya had fully recovered. Miko had designed better survival equipment. Dr. Iris had written new medical protocols for dangerous worlds. Captain Soren had become one of the fleet's most respected commanders. And Lena, she hadn't changed at all. She still spoke very little. Still noticed things nobody else saw. Still watched before acting. As we prepared for another mission, I asked her one final question. Back on Karos 9, were you ever afraid? She looked out at the stars, then smiled. Of course. I looked surprised. You never showed it. She nodded. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing the next step, even when you're afraid. I never forgot those words. Epilogue. Across the galaxy, stories about the humans of Earth spread from one civilization to another. Some called them fearless. Others called them impossible. But every version ended the same way. Never mistake a quiet human for a weak one. Because while others rush into battle, humans observe. They adapt. They calculate. And when the moment finally comes, they strike with a plan already finished. The apex beasts believed they had captured one helpless prisoner. Instead, they awakened the determination of a Deathworld girl who refused to leave anyone behind. On Karos 9, the galaxy learned a lesson it would never forget. The most dangerous predator isn't always the strongest. Sometimes, it's the one who spends 3 days thinking before making a single move.